reach out to episode 3 of Reach Out to the Podcast. I am KM, here with my co-host Ian.
Co-host, is that what I am now? The guy who records and edits is the co-host. I gave you a second chance for this intro, and you have failed me once again.
Right.
But hey, after a long period of a 3-week time, we're back.
Yeah.
Only because, well, things started coming up once again, so, I think we're already on the right track of being the worst podcast ever. Because let's see, we got our first video taken down. We are already late with the video, only on episode 3. So, I mean, if we can't be the best, we can at least be the worst.
We're already ripping off like 10 different people.
Just 10?
Yeah. Probably more.
Oh, yeah.
If we look hard enough.
But anyways, let's start with how we've been. How have you been?
I've been a lot better. I've had a lot more free time recently. Been able to do shit. It's been fun.
Okay. Like, what does that consist of? Go ahead. Just talk. Just talk.
Just talk? Just talk. Okay, well, I saw The Revenant like 2 weeks ago.
I haven't had the chance for that. I'll tell my part of that story when you're done.
Really kind of interesting movie, as in like the like just like the plot and characters are almost kind of non-existent in a way.
Minimalistic?
Like very minimalistic. Like the most context you get to things is like there are a group of hunters and things are kind of shitty for them, but like you don't really get any context of why they're all hunters in like this kind of shitty place. You don't even really know what fucking time period it is, or at least the movie itself doesn't make it clear. Maybe some like trailer or promotional material does, but the movie itself doesn't make it clear what time period it is.
It's 1652.
Honestly, might as well have been. The characters themselves are just very, very, very basic.
Hey, this was the movie that got Leo the award, finally.
And that's what I wanted to get into. The one thing that absolutely fucking saved it was the superb acting. It's mostly a film about Leonardo DiCaprio trying to fucking survive almost being dead in a shitty place.
So Survivor with Leo?
Yeah. And although every scene is very effective in making you like sympathize with the situation and like what kind of place he's in.
Okay.
Although, we'll say it probably didn't need to be 2.5 hours long. He definitely towards the middle, I feel like there were certain like he meets another character, and I feel like that character and all those scenes could have been cut out and nothing would have really changed.
Okay.
But again, the acting itself was very captivating. I feel Leo really, really deserved that Oscar.
Well, hey, glad he got it. Even the bear was there to congratulate him. Which, I was still hoping for him to maw Leo alive and then take the award back to his home.
Oh man, you're kidding? You're joking right now, but Jesus fucking Christ! That beginning fight scene with the bear. It's legitimately like 5 minutes of just really, really intense shit.
Well, I mean, I wish I could have seen it, but, when I actually went on my way to the theater to go watch it, I got in a car crash.
Oh.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
Damn.
We were on the crossway, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, you could slightly see this extremely fast-moving car, and it collides with us. And then we do a complete flip.
Jesus.
So I can finally cross that off of the things of stuff I've experienced in my life. Don't think I necessarily wanted that in my life, but hey, now I got it. And considering the car crash, I'm shocked that none of my bones were broken. All I got mainly were bruises. I was still shaking by the time I got out of the hospital, but, I'm alive.
I can imagine. Goddamn. Wasn't the guy who like crashed into you more like wounded than your family?
Oh, way more. Way more.
Fucking
he
hell.
Had broken bones, and that sucks.
Yeah. Wonder why he drove so fast in the first place.
I'd asked, but honestly, I just did not want to talk to anyone at that point.
I can imagine.
But anything
Um,
else you've done?
um, Besides that, all I've done is play Digimon Cyber Sleuth for like 3 weeks straight.
Fucking Digimon.
Yep, legitimately the only thing I really did whenever I could play it. Uh, Stuck more hours into it than I would like an average Persona game, so that's some good shit.
So you put like 100 then?
Around, yeah.
Jesus.
Mainly, mainly the last bit where I was like, oh hey, I want all these Digimon. Oh fuck, half of them are like the super legendary ones I need to do special, super level side quests for.
Oh. Well,
I did
of
not.
course, the favorite ones are the hardest ones to get.
Yeah, that's how to get you. That's how to keep you playing.
Well, I'm shocked that game is even that long. I thought it would just be like a 50-hour long RPG, but no, that's the point of Nocturne right there.
Yeah. Although I don't think many people will get to that time unless they're like crazy like me, where like, yeah, I need all these like super high level Digimon and I need them to get to 99.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Honestly, I felt more compelled to get like my ideal group of Digimon than I felt get than I've like been compelled to get like all the Pokemon in any Pokemon game, to be honest.
Jesus.
Probably because this was the first time I actually got to do this with Digimon as opposed to Pokemon, where I could do that from the beginning. But
But would you say the game was overall very solid, or was it very
very,
disappointing?
very solid. I'd say it's right up there with Pokemon games like Black and White for me, honestly. I feel like Cyber Sleuth was better than Pokemon's output has been in half a decade.
Now, when you compare it to Black and White, now you've got me piqued in interest.
It's I definitely say this, and I like praise the game to hell and back, but
Because you're a Digimon fan.
because I'm a like big Digimon fan, if you're the only way you're gonna get like the most out of Cyber Sleuth is if you are like a giant Digimon fan. That being said, if you're just a fan of like turn-based RPGs and you just want like a new one to play on on a console, I'd still say for those kinds of people, it's at least a decent game.
Okay, well, fair enough. I kind of figured it was one of those games to begin with, though.
Yeah, it definitely met expectations, which is pretty rare nowadays.
God, a game reaching over mediocrity? Tell me more,
Yeah.
tell me more, tell me more.
Ah, man. Yeah, yeah.
It
But
was
yeah,
a full price game, wasn't it?
it was a full price game. Yeah,
That's really
20.
surprising.
I got 20 off of it, thankfully. But yeah.
All right. Well,
Uh,
glad the wait paid off, considering you were like there from the start, wanting it to get localized.
I'm so glad it got localized. Like the localization definitely isn't perfect. It suffers a bit from being too literal at times. But considering the talk of localizations recently, I think I can live with
Yeah,
it.
let's not delve into that for this podcast. I don't think my brain can
No,
handle it.
no,
There's
no,
so many
no,
different
definitely not.
sides to that conversation that could last for almost 2 hours, I'd argue.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the goal for this particular podcast.
Yeah, no, just time to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
Though, anything
Well,
else?
yeah, that's not really actually.
Okay, well, fair enough. In terms of
So,
stuff
what?
I've been doing the past 3 weeks, because, we're good with our schedule, even though we just fucking started.
Some good shit.
Yeah, good
Good
shit.
shit.
Well, it started off really with a car crash. That was not fun. Not fun in
I
the
gathered.
slightest.
I gathered. Yeah.
And for that day, I just decided to watch a few films out of sheer boredom because I really didn't feel like doing much else. I caught Ex Machina. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, that was a film that I believe was released last year, I want to say. And I want to say that it is one of the most tense films I've watched in a while, which is weird considering like the concept of it alone. Like through the entire film, it is set in basically one building, and in grand total, I want to say there are like three characters, four if you want
Huh.
to count one of them that just doesn't even talk. But considering how all the characters act with one another, you don't really know when they're going to snap. You don't know what they're going to say or what they're going to do. It's all just very interesting to see what their next move is. And of course, a
You know,
lot of
I've
the
always,
themes and ideology going into the film, and that fucking ending honestly made
you
it
know,
like one of the best films I've watched in a while.
I've always kind of been a fan of that setting, just like a couple of characters locked in this like enclosed space. Because, yeah, it can get very tense, and you know, you might end up getting attached to characters that kind of get axed.
Yeah, definitely. And by the time you like watch it more, you feel like you understand these characters, but as the film goes on, well, you end up learning more about them. And that's when you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." And more things
Usually
start
there's a
making sense.
usually there's a reason they're locked up in there, and usually that's not a pretty reason.
Oh yeah. I think it's one of those films you should watch for like the ending alone cuz it's like, "Oh my god."
I'll give it a look, man. Seems interesting.
Good, good. It's actually available on Amazon Prime if you have that for free.
I don't, but you know.
Darn it! Because honestly, Prime is the best way to watch anything nowadays. Because honestly, with Netflix, you got to be very specific with some films, and even when you are specific, you're most likely not going to find what you're looking for. So you have to rely on
No,
shady sites.
but you can always find some fucking right garbage on there if you want to.
Oh yeah, a lot of stupid indie direct-to-DVD films.
Fuck, we couldn't get this a proper release. Let's just fling it on Netflix. Someone will watch
They'll be
it.
willing to eat it. Ah,
So, what other films have you been watching besides Ex Machina?
well, besides Ex Machina, I finally decided to sit down and watch Sin City. I'm
Uh,
not sure if you've heard of that one.
yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay,
Again, haven't watched it because I'm very, I don't have a lot of experience with movies, to be
that's
honest.
fine. I'm just generally talking about things that I've been doing, and this was basically an adaptation of Frank Miller's graphic novels, Sin City. I believe it's based off like the first couple of books, not all of them, because there's the sequel, which bases off this really apparent shitty storyline. So don't even bother with that one, apparently. Which is a shame, because honestly, I enjoyed Sin City. It's not the best film, it's not the most deepest thing, but it's honestly like just a really fun watch just for the visuals alone. Because honestly, it's the closest we're ever gonna get to like a full motion graphic novel that looks good.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Because otherwise, you get stuff like some graphic novels that come with like games that just look awful.
Only the game tie-ins that are the worst.
I know, right? Remember taking a look at the Mass Effect one, and I did not like that at all. Other than that, those were the two main films. Other than the Pokemon film we all watched with a few friends,
And I don't think we can actually say anything about that.
which
So
is kind of the sad part, despite the fact of the ending.
yeah. Speaking of Pokemon,
Yeah, 20th anniversary.
and we got a thing. I'm sorry, just that fucking direct was the most underwhelming fucking thing in the world. It was incredible almost.
It's really funny because like I was going to wake up for that, but I realized that I didn't wake up in time for my alarm. So when I saw my clock was 2 hours past the time it was released, I'm like, shit, people were probably overreacting about this. I gotta check Twitter, and I see barely anything's going on. I'm like, wait, what? Where's Pokemon? 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 So I check
Yeah, no,
like the feed, and I see the announcement of the rumor, which turned out to be true, Sun and Moon, which is gonna be the new versions coming out this winter,
yeah,
and that's all we know.
yeah.
Nintendo pulled
I've
an announcement of an announcement.
and I feel like some people don't really get why a lot of people are underwhelmed by this. Like, if this was just a trailer, if it just happened to drop at that point, like, I feel a lot more people would be excited. But no, this was a direct. They hyped up like a week or so before it happened.
Yeah, for the big 20th
So,
anniversary.
so like, obviously people's expectations are going to build up, and when you have a logo, you know, like, what the fuck do you expect people to say?
Honestly, I think we got quite a lot out of that. I think we got memes and
Mm,
uh, memes. You like memes, right?
Yeah. No. Well, actually, we got an announcement of one feature.
That being?
If you can transfer the Gen 1 Virtual Console Pokemon over to the Sun and Moon, and my question is, wait, what? How? What? How?
Don't you have to use Pokebank for that, though?
Yeah, you have to use but the thing is, the Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon use a completely fucking different system. Like, IVs weren't a thing then, so how the fuck are you going to transfer that? There was a reason Gold and Silver couldn't transfer Ruby and Sapphire, so why the fucking Red, Blue, and Yellow transfer to Sun and Moon?
Considering they're like bare bones versions of like what it would eventually become over 20 years. It's very strange. I'm not
Yeah,
sure how they're gonna do that now that you put it like that. I never really thought of like the more complex features of Pokemon into like trading and such.
neither do I, but it's like, it's so apparent, like, it almost feels like they don't actually have anything, and this is just like a vague idea they decided to throw up.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I think it was just like a
Yeah,
quick attempt to appease the Gen 1 fans who have been there from the start.
yeah.
Because like they don't want to be left behind. Because a good amount of people still really only like remember fondly Gen 1.
Gen 1, most of them fall in with the Gen 2 crowd, but
Yeah, the Gen 2 crowd and so on and so forth.
But another like kind of weird thing about that is that there's where does this leave Gen 6? Because
What's that?
who? It's just like you still have all these like Zygarde forms, the fucking new animes called XYZ, which made people like really suspect there was going to be a Z. So it's like, what the fuck's gonna happen with all of that?
Hmm.
Like, I mean, not that I care much because Gen 6 isn't very good, but it's just kind of like what?
It's definitely the one game that can easily spark up a conversation on how terrible it is. Because, Jesus Christ, I was having a talk with a good friend of mine last night about that.
Oh. Like the only way I can see them really doing this is they kind of do a gold and silver where they sort of build on things from the previous gen, but we'll have to see about that.
Yeah. Well, we can't be too sure. The only. It's really hard to say with this kind of release schedule.
Yeah,
Because I was trying to think
and
of something like similar to like a release date schedule like this on the GBA, but that wasn't really the case.
neither was it
Because,
on the DS.
yeah, on the DS as well.
Because the DS was basically yearly after Platinum came out.
Yeah, like I was trying to think of Ruby and Sapphire came out first, then Fire and Leaf Green, but then they went back to Emerald. But that really wasn't the case with like Diamond, Pearl, Platinum or such, was it? Because I think
No,
Platinum came out before Soul Silver and Heart Gold.
yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah.
Platinum was 2008, Hard Gold Soul Silver was 2009,
Oh nine, Christ.
and then Black and White 2 were also just released straight after Black and White, so that it's not similar to this either.
Yeah, so it's really hard to pinpoint.
It's also kind of weird that they don't really have footage of Sun and Moon, because, like, Pokemon, again, I mentioned, like, after Platinum was yearly, but that transferred over to the 3DS. Pokemon was yearly from '08 to 14. And then on 2015, they took a break. So you figured, okay, they've been
They would be
working
in
on this for, like,
development for
quite
a
a...
while and then showcase this grand stuff going on.
Yeah, because, like, fucking X and Y's reveal had, like, gameplay, but this doesn't. Like, it's just... I don't really get where this is going.
Yeah. And like I'm gonna make a comparison here, especially after an announcement like Final for SMT4, where they announced it when the game was basically complete, and they were showing off all the footage and such. So I'm not sure what they're doing here. I assume we're gonna see footage, of course, during E3, but I'm not sure if like they actually put in time and effort into this one yet.
Yeah, and if they did, it's kind of weird that they didn't show anything. Like, maybe they wanted that to be a surprise, but I don't really see
Why
why.
not wait for a surprise on the 20th anniversary?
Yeah, it's just... It's kind... I just don't really get it.
Why wait for
And
E3? I think E3 is a bit less important than the big 20.
I mean, maybe there's a good reason for it, but for the life of me, I can't figure it out.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll have to wait again.
Again,
I like
oh
playing the
well.
waiting game. Not really though.
Eh, honestly, after X and Y, it's like I'm not exactly clamoring for new Pokemon.
Yeah, that's why I was so cautious with like ORAS. I was the
Yeah,
only one out of my family who actually bought ORAS day one, and
I
thankfully I
did.
wasn't wrong to buy it day one.
No, I really did like ORAS, but the thing is, that's a remake.
Yeah, and that game felt like I don't know. I was talking about this with my friend last night as well, where it really feels like ORAS was handled by a completely different team because the quality is just a complete opposite from what X and Y left.
Yeah, especially in terms of like the soundtrack and stuff, the presentation as a
Oh
whole,
God,
really.
like we were listening to the soundtrack for ORAS after like the X and Y one, and it's just such a complete overhaul.
Yeah, you could argue that ORAS was just working with good tunes that were ruined by GVA awful instrumentation, but it's just
But the new
it's a bit.
mixes, though, the stuff they add to the song,
Yeah,
especially with some
it's
songs where they incorporate the original files.
yeah, it's really good stuff. And then X and Y soundtrack, like the game itself. Eh, eh,
It's
eh.
boring. It's forgettable. There's nothing to it.
Yeah. And that's what I mean when I'm saying I'm not clamoring for this. Like, yeah, I like the shit out of ORAS, but the last original Pokemon game was X and Y. And X and Y, honestly, the more I think about it, the more I dislike it than Gen 4, which was my most disliked Pokemon generation for about a decade. So,
Yeah, nothing could top Brown Mountain.
it's
But here we are.
here we are. You know, if it looks good, I'll pick it up day one. I always end up doing it no matter what I say. So,
You're a slave to Pokemon. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's Sun and Moon. Managed to have a surprising conversation about it, considering it's a logo.
Hey, we can do so much with just a logo. Look at people with all of their jokes that they won't stop telling.
And over
And
and
over.
over.
You know, you get it, guys? You get it? You get it? It's like a version of Pokemon. Pokemon. Get it? You get it?
I think I think they do.
And it's funny. People were like the one joke that I thought was kind of funny, where people were comparing it to the fact that they're starting to run out of names. So it's gonna get to the point of Pokemon up and down,
Left to
left
right
to right.
and all around.
That's the new version. The updated one is just all around.
We we did it. We unveiled Gen 8.
Can't
I
wait.
hope this doesn't. I hope Gen 7 doesn't lead into a fucking Gen 4 remake though.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, okay, I understand some people like it. It's fine. You can have your game, but like, can we not?
I don't think a remake could really help that game, honestly.
I don't really see how it's necessary post Gen 3 is the thing.
That too. Especially for something like Gen 5, if we're going to discuss that. Because
Yeah,
Gen
that
5
game.
is just fine on its own. It doesn't need a remake.
And even though I have massive issues with the way like Gen 4 is designed, in terms of like mechanically and stuff, it's like not much has changed between Gens 4 and 6. So I feel a remake would be, unless you like really overhaul the design itself, I feel like that would be incredibly redundant.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's Pokemon. Uh,
Pokemon.
you want you have anything else you want to talk about?
I just wanted to mention, like, a few games before you cut me off that I have finished and started playing recently.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, no, it's fine. Like, I don't care. We're here to talk on this podcast, and if you like hearing us talk, thanks. Stick around for more, if we last that long. But in terms of stuff I recently finished, I finished Dark Souls, which I believe I mentioned
Ooh,
on the first podcast that I was playing, which I
you,
can't
you you
believe I
mentioned
finished before FF7.
you said you were playing it and then you put it on
I
hold.
put it on hold. I was at the
So
halfway point. Then, when a good friend of mine was playing it again, I decided to pick it back up, and I managed to finish it. And overall, I was shockingly surprised at how much I actually really liked Dark Souls.
I mean, I don't really have much to say on it, so you just go, man. You just
Oh yeah,
go.
no. I completely understand. That's how I was for the Revenant. And when you mentioned the minimalistic storytelling, I think that's something Dark Souls exceeds so well at. Through just simple character dialogue and item descriptions, you get piece by piece of what this kind of world is as you travel through numerous locations that are like all connected so well. Like the thing with the director of these games, at least for I think Demon, Dark One, and Bloodborne, is that he's able to create these level designs for worlds that all just seemingly connect as opposed to like, level selects.
Yeah. So it's like more of like just a big open world
Big
almost.
open world. Think of it like oh no, I was gonna make a joke there with like think of it like Zelda, and then someone makes the comparison. This Zelda game is the Dark Souls of the series. Of course, now after playing Dark Souls, I can finally understand why people keep comparing Dark Souls to shit.
Why? Because it's difficult.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is hard. I don't think it's as hard as people make it out to be. Like, this is the hardest game of all time. Oh my god!
Well, I mean, people
Teens react
over-exaggerate
to
all.
Dark Souls.
Well, I mean, people over-exaggerate all the time. I do it too.
Oh
So,
yeah, we're
like,
all victims of that, of course. Though I'd say that this is a game where it's like it has the best sense of learning mechanics because, there's the whole thing of Infinite Lies with the you die, which you'll constantly see unless you mod it to thanks Obama.
like,
Yeah, that's a mod for Dark Souls 1 for the
I,
PC version.
uh, I'm so happy. Fucking hell.
But through every death, you learn a new experience, and you use that experience in hopes of actually conquering it. And, when you actually beat, like, one of the target demons in the area, it feels so good. Because, especially for some bosses, which you keep dying to, but then you realize and you understand how they work, and it's like, oh my god, now I can completely destroy this guy. Of course, there are some
So,
bosses that are like, you beat, like, on the first try. But that's honestly because of the previous bosses that kicked your ass. You use those methods to carry over to other bosses, and in the end, you end up having an easier time, despite the fact that later areas do get a bit more difficult with enemies.
so would you say it's a bit trial and error-ish, or?
Mm, I suppose. In some aspects. Some areas are awful, I will say. Mainly the second half. There's an area called Tomb of the Giants, which, no. One of the worst areas just for a single enemy alone.
Oh dear. Got any fun memories of said enemy you want to share?
Oh, the little crouching skeleton guy who you have to fight in complete darkness unless you have a torch, which you have to equip through your shield, and if you don't have your shield up, you're going to get destroyed. Yes, I do have fond memories of him. He's not fun. Kirby died a lot.
I almost forgot about Kirby.
Yeah, for every game I'm going to do a joke character. For Demon, I just started Demon Souls recently. I'm playing as Mr. Bean.
Mr. fucking Bean.
Yes.
I don't think I have a reaction to this. I'm just, I'm kind of in awe, actually.
Look, it was either that or your suggestion of Donkey Kong. I honestly think it's a lot easier to make Mr. Bean, and I know that's a very weird thing to say, but
Oh well, Donkey Kong will get a chance to shine in Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, or Dark Souls 3. Who knows?
maybe, yeah. Depending on how like the character creators go in those, I hear they're a lot better. So perhaps Donkey Kong will have his time to banana slam with the enemies.
Anything else you want to say about Dark Souls?
Uh, not much other than like I really had a good time and I can't wait to try the other games in the series. Maybe with the exception of Dark Souls 2, because I don't hear many good things
Yeah,
about that one.
no, there not a lot of good things heard about that one.
But other than that, I mentioned I was playing Demon Souls and that's going well. I don't have too much to say about that because I really only played like the first two levels of the world, and that game has kind of like a level select similar to Mega Man. which is really weird. But yet,
Uh,
those level designs seem to connect, surprisingly. Not to the point of Dark Souls, where that's a lot more open world, but
would you say you preferred the open world style or the more level select style?
uh I can't really say right now. I'm kind of leaning a bit more to the open world, just because, like, when I first discovered the shortcuts in Dark Souls 1, I was just kind of like, whoa, really?
That's fair. Uh, never been never actually been too much of an open world guy myself. So if I ever try a Souls game, maybe Demon would be a bit better one to start off with.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you could go in with either Dark or Demon. So far Dark's a lot harder, though I don't know how difficult Demon can get. Maybe it's just for the fact that I played Dark first, so I understand mechanics.
I feel like that's true of a lot with like all the like what you can basically call the From Software game at this point.
God, From Software is so bad with that, though. Do you know how many
Wasn't
fucking Armored Core games there are?
I was about to fucking say, wasn't it Armored Core before like Demon Souls just kind of like got really popular?
Yeah, there are so many Armored Core games.
It's
Mainly
like
on PS2.
it's like From Software gets a formula right, then runs that into the ground, then they're like, fuck, I guess we gotta think of something new. Then they do that, run that into the ground, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
And I'm hoping the rumors about Dark Souls 3 being the last game in the series is true. I highly
Yeah.
doubt it, but here's hoping. And from what I've seen of the gameplay of Dark Souls 3, it's looking like to connect all of the stuff from all the Souls games in a way, so I'm kind of interested to see how they handle that.
So like even Demon Souls.
Yeah, actually, the main hub, from what it looked like, seemed to be similar to Demon Souls, so I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but I'm still
Huh.
very
I guess Blood
curious.
I guess Bloodborne isn't actually connected to all of that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Bloodborne is like its own separate thing. Other than like some items, it seems from Bloodborne have made it into 3 in a way.
Huh. Well, that's neat,
Yeah.
I guess.
Although I can't really comment too much because I haven't played all of those, but I will eventually, of course.
Yeah, I might give Demons a try because like I've never been too fond of how they look, but I feel like I should at least give one of them a shot at some point.
Demons is very cheap, so if you ever feel curious, go ahead.
All right.
Other than that, though, the other game I've been playing recently, which was a birthday gift, because last week was my birthday, I have Super Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon.
Oh yeah, it came out in Europe recently.
Yeah, I did. I only got it this year. It did come out last year over here, because, North America's just quicker with that for the most part.
I've, it's kind of a weird thing where like some games come out in Europe earlier and some games come out in America earlier because like Nintendo of Europe and Nintendo of America are just not talking to each other, making different translations.
Yeah, like Bravely Second came out in Europe, I think, before here.
Yeah,
And,
Dream
with
Team.
all the shit I hear about that one, I'm glad we haven't gotten it.
Yeah, wasn't interested to begin with, so like, eh.
Well, I mean, with the second half thing where you have to fight like 5 bosses just to get the true ending, like in a row, that's just no.
Eh,
And
yeah,
that's referring to all the bosses. Like that's above Capcom boss rush.
especially considering it's a fucking slow turn-based
Yeah,
RPG.
like come on. Though hey, like off of Bravely Default, yeah. Um, I was playing Super Mystery Dungeon recently, as a way of getting back into the series, considering the last one I played was Explorers of Darkness, which was back on the DS.
Yeah, it was. I played Time.
Yeah, I only picked Darkness because at the time I was playing Kingdom Hearts, and Darkness was just cool. Teens love the darkness.
That's some good edgy shit.
Good edge.
Uh,
Oh. But yeah, no, I've been playing Super Mystery Dungeon, which surprisingly has been quite a bit different considering the previous, like the first 2 entries. I can't say the one before Super Gates to Infinity because I actually never played that one.
I heard it was very standard and kind of just like a whatever entry.
Yeah, definitely. That's all the stuff I hear. But Super takes a lot of interesting turns in terms of gameplay, I'd say. Like the fact that you can take any Pokemon that you connect with through missions into the dungeon, like actually replacing the main character and the partners for side missions, I think is really neat. Despite that some missions in that game could fuck off from the beginning, because there's this one mission in the beginning like really early on when you're like level 12 or something, where you have to go into the dungeon and find like a level 50 salamence.
What the hell?
And it's not easy. Not easy at all. The first time I did die, I mean, eventually I went back in there and I understood what I was doing, but Christ, it's such a big what kind of mission. Especially considering it's Salamence, but once you beat him, you get him on your team and it's awesome.
What the fuck? It seems kind of overpowered. Um,
And then there are the Monster
yeah,
House missions. Monster Houses aren't fun.
they've never been.
They've never been. Though the system, like the connection orb, seems to be replacing the whole just select a mission and you'll get like points to get like the best ranks. So in this case, it's Gotta Catch 'Em All Mystery Dungeon Edition.
It seems like it seems cool.
It is cool.
I know a good friend of ours like marathon the game in a day or two, and he really liked it. So
Yeah, he mentioned the end game was really, really good, and I like to get to that point. So far, I'm still in the beginning, which is also a bit strange for a mystery dungeon, considering not too much has really happened. Like, I'm on
is
chapter 10,
yeah
and I'm still in the first town.
yeah I've heard it's very slow.
It's like a lot of sub events that are more for basic character development, mainly for the partner himself, which, because of that, it doesn't completely bother me or turn me off from playing it more. In fact, it kind of makes me interested to see where it goes in the end. But I will say,
It's
because of that kind of startup, I would not recommend it as the first game, especially since it's way harder than any of the games.
oh dear. Yeah, I think for the first game, any of the DS entries would do fine.
Yes, any of them. Including Blue, which, despite
And
the fact that it's not the best game ever, you should still play it.
I still think it's an enjoyable experience,
Yeah, it is good fun. It's nothing to the point of like Explorers of Time and Darkness and Sky, but
which were kind of better than they should have been.
way better. That story is way better than it should have been.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, wait, what? How?
And it makes me upset because with stories like that in a Pokemon game, I don't understand why they can't incorporate that more into the main games.
Yeah, Black and White sort of had that, but after that,
Yeah, which still makes me upset, but whatever. All I'm saying is right now, Super Mystery Dungeon has been very enjoyable. I cannot wait to play more of it, especially for the apparent end game, which is comparable to uh, Persona 3, apparently, which, that's like the best end game ever, honestly.
kind of a weird comparison, but I'll roll with
I'll
it.
roll with it. I'll see what you mean. Maybe the main character gets like a Pokevoker.
Right, I think we're done talking about Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Anything else that doesn't involve Pokemon shooting themselves in the head?
Mmm, can't say no. All the Pokevoker has led up to this moment of recording.
Aww. Right, well,
I'm glad I can get deep sighs in recording. The deepest
you're
of
doing
sighs.
you're doing well, man. You're doing well.
Yes.
No, seriously though, you had something you wanted to talk about. I think both of us agreed that we wanted to talk about this.
That being
Street Fighter Five.
Street Fighter. Oh, I
Since you're
love
better at
Steam early access games.
since you're probably better at explaining things than I am, why don't you just take the lead?
So Street Fighter V, it's the new main entry in the beloved Street Fighter series. You know Street Fighter. That's like the thing that completely made the fighting genre. And its new entry came out and it has less content than Street Fighter 4 on launch day. Oh.
Oh,
How much is it? $60? Oh. I mean, I
yeah.
I get the general thing they're doing. It's kind of like Splatoon in a way, but I think it's way worse.
The thing with the Splatoon as well, unless you lived in America, that shit was only 40.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
I picked it was 40 on launch day in Europe anyway. I know that much.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
It seems like one of those games that they would actually push more for like a higher price. But hey, I mean, the sales have shown that it was successful, unlike Street Fighter V at the moment.
Yeah, Street Fighter Five is doing like pretty bad, isn't
In
it?
terms of sales, I don't believe it's doing very good. I will check real quick thanks to the beloved site known as VG Charts. Everyone loves VG Charts, I think.
It's very accurate all the time.
I don't think they even have sales numbers right now, but I do recall that it's apparently a very weak selling title at the moment.
E- I know. I think the strongest is America, but even then, I think its fucking sales can be compared to Fire Emblem Fates, and if your mainline fighting game can be compared in sales to some 3DS anime strategy RPG, might be an issue.
Might be an issue. I mean, honestly, I think the fact that they've released the game without, like, with the lack of an arcade mode in particular, like, is offensive to me. Because I
An
understand there
arcade
is
mode, the most fucking basic single player thing you can add in a fighting game.
yeah, because that's just the straight up, like, original arcade re-release.
It's I understand that this is like preferable to the usual thing where they like, especially fucking people like Arc System Works, who will like release an update to a game on like disc and stuff, but then you can't use that update for the previous version of the game.
Yeah. Oh no, Arc
To
is awful with that kind of practice, despite the fact that their games are good.
their games are good, but their practices are by far the worst in the
The
industry.
amount of money you have to spend on DLC alone,
And then they just release a new version
and it comes with all of
next
that.
year.
That's the fighting game for
I,
you.
the most egregious examples of it are I think Chrono Phantasma Extend and the upcoming Exert Revelator, which I've heard isn't compatible with the original Exert. I'm not sure how true that is.
Jeez.
So yeah, but I get that it's preferable to that. I agree that it's preferable to that. But you need to release the game in a better state than what was at.
I think the issue here is that they're trying to appeal to a crowd that isn't really the majority, I argue. Because the thing with fighting games is that while there is a competitive scene, there is also this thing called casual.
Yeah,
Some people
like
are
us.
not going to get extremely good at fighting games to the point of reaching EVO. Some just want to play a game to have fun and pass the time. They'll play like a couple characters through arcade mode and then they'll put it up on the shelf and that's it. They may take it out again after a while just to kill some time. And you know what? That's fine. For some games, that's perfectly reasonable. So the fact that they don't release any like good form of single player content for people, that's just outrageous. And it doesn't help that the competitive scene of this game doesn't even fucking work. The online
Isn't
is horrible. Half the time,
it?
there are disconnections, and the other time, the matches run like crap.
Didn't Ono have to actually like apologize or something for
Yes,
it?
he did.
That's
And considering all the beta testing they had for it, I just feel this is just kind of unexcusable.
weren't there like fucking like 5 public betas just for stress testing?
Yes,
And it still doesn't. How?
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know how Capcom keeps managing to do it, but they do it.
It's like with all the recent shit Konami has pulled. Capcom was like, "Hey, we want people to remember that we're the original
We're
worst."
the original awful people. Because at one point, like when the game was coming out, it seemed like they understood what they were doing. Like, okay, this is gonna be released with all the content, but then they made that one notice where it's going to be like coming in through monthly stuff along with characters that you can use through like a kind of system that's similar to XR with fight money. Although I'm not sure how easy it is to actually get the money in the game. If it's anything like XR, it's probably gonna take a while.
Yeah, yeah. But it seemed all good. They were releasing beta, so people could like give their input. That's also
And they
good.
can improve the game through that. That's great.
And then They
It
didn't.
was like it was looking to be like a good version of an early access, one you didn't really have to pay for immediately. Because the thing with Steam Early Access games is that you can't really go into it for free. You have to buy the full game, and then you have it, and then over the course of time, they might finish it,
Maybe if you're lucky.
perhaps. And then when it's
One
finished, it turns
point,
out like garbage
most of the time.
most of the time. So when this game comes out with barely anything in the end, for $60,
Yeah, for full retail
in a
price.
barely functioning state with glitches, mind you, at times characters will outright remove themselves from the game, along with stages.
That's ridiculous.
Like, there are characters that are just gone from the roster. They just disappear, and it's like, what?
I think I seen like a screenshot of that where like, what the fuck was it? What, I think it was like Armika or something that was
Armika
just
is
outright
just
miss.
gone.
Yeah,
And it's like, how does this happen? This is like awful save corruption glitches in Soul Calibur 3. When you get to be compared to Soul Calibur 3, that's not really a good thing.
and of course Evo being the fucking hype mongers they are already put it on their fucking
Oh
schedule.
yeah, because, you know, it's coming out. They had to release it in time for the Capcom World Tour.
But if Capcom doesn't buckle down and like fix shit, that's probably gonna be a shit show.
Back to Street Fighter 4. It's a shame too, because apparently the mechanics are just fine. It's just the fact that it's released in such an awful, buggy mess that it's like, why?
I don't know, man. I just don't know. It's like I wasn't even that interested because I'm just not a Street
You're not a
Fighter
Street
player
Fighter
at all.
player. You're an Anime Fighter
But
player.
yeah, but for people who are, isn't this is just kind of like I knew people were like really excited for Street Fighter 5. It seemed to, like, finally be that step away from Street Fighter 4 people have been wanting for 8 years.
Yeah. God, Street Fighter 4 did last that long. Almost.
Street Fighter 4 lasted a ridiculous amount of time, and I think people were getting kind of sick of it by the
Well,
end.
considering the original Street Fighter 4's release was the most unbalanced garbage in the world, yes. But hey,
And
some people like Street Fighter 4, and that's good on them.
good on them, but it's like people were waiting. Finally, we'll get a good Street Fighter game again. And you know what? It probably is, but not in this
Not
state.
in this state. Unless they get to fixing stuff, this game is not going to do well.
And they need to fix shit like immediately,
Even
basically.
if there's extremely weird hype around that game.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear about the whole Daigo thing?
What, where Daigo got like beat by some random fucking
Yeah,
guy or
Lupe
something?
Fiasco. Do you know who Lupe Fiasco is?
Not a fucking clue.
Exactly. He just comes out of nowhere with his cannon and beats Daigo, the best Street Fighter player, out of nowhere, in 5, and it's like, okay, sure. Though, I have to
Yeah,
admit, it was hilarious.
I can
Because,
imagine.
like,
Like,
when
what
he
the
won,
fuck?
he was ready to go to the next round, but then he realized he won, he was like, wait, what?
Didn't he just like say I quit so he could have like the perfect streak?
He might have. I've only seen the actual fight itself. There were a lot of Shoryukens.
Uh, great,
Which
great,
is
just
similar to the
great.
greatest Street Fighter video ever, where the guy goes online and wins by just doing Ken's Shoryukens.
Maybe someone at Capcom should look at those Shoryukens.
Shoryuken! Shoryuken! I mean, it'll never get to the point of Sagat with Tiger Uppercuts, but still.
But yeah, anything else you want to say on that, or
For Street Fighter 5, nah. I think I've said all I needed to say. All I just hope is that the fact that, you know, when the actual content gets released for the game, that people get their money's worth.
yeah. Again, don't care about the game much myself, but I feel the fans deserve it. Especially the people who fucking stuck like $60 into it. Like, come on.
$60! Oh,
Like, yeah, it's not great.
oh, is the way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else that happened the last few weeks, at
I know,
least not
right?
that
For the
I know
fact that
of.
we delayed this thing for so long, and the fact that we don't have too much to say, that's why I was kind of relying on the fact that of the stuff I was doing. It's not much general news really happened.
Yeah,
Was kind
it
of
had
it's
been
just
pretty.
kind of in a slow weeks, but you know what? Those are also appreciated.
Yeah, yeah.
Although,
God.
what about that one game that you sent me? I didn't read too much of the article. It was done by the P2 guy. You said, like the story writer.
Oh yeah, Caligula or something.
Yeah, it's like gonna be a new Vita game that's basically the response to Persona again, other than like Mind
Where
Zero.
Mind Zero, which was just
I heard it was
kind of
all right.
I heard it was just kind of an average RPG.
Yeah. But hey, it's getting on Steam now, so there's more reason for you not to buy a Vita.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it is getting a Steam release. All the Vita games are just coming to Steam, so at this point, I wouldn't
My
be
God,
shocked if P4 Gold hadn't gone to Steam.
man! If P4 Golden got on Steam, that would literally be the bullet between the eyes for the Vita. Like the moment that game gets on there, that's it. The Vita is completely gone.
You could just make an edit of like the intro to Fallout New Vegas.
But yeah, that. Hang on, I'm gonna look up this fucking thing's name. We are very prepared here at Reach Out to the Podcast, and by that I mean God just kill me already.
That can be arranged.
Thank you. New game.
Here we have an intermission. Be right back.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, Caligula.
Caligula?
Yep.
I know for the fact that it has a tagline of like idols.
Yeah, no, it's like the Persona. It's like if the Persona 2 writer looked at what like S&T and Persona become, and he's just like, you know what? Fuck Atlas. Because the tagline for the game is "Could you kill an idol?"
Could you kill an idol? Well,
which I
if
feel,
only.
which I feel is a very direct response to S&T Cross Fire Emblem in particular.
I knew there was a reason I liked P2. Can't say too
But
much for digital yet because I haven't fully played through those games, which I gotta fucking do.
the P2 guy who's also written Persona 1 and the Digital Alpha Saga games, which are generally considered to be the best written out of like basically all of S&T.
Yeah, which is saying something.
Yeah, he's working on a new thing, which is interesting because like the game itself, like mechanically, could be a completely average RPG, like Persona 2 was. But if the writing is, if he's still able to just write a really, really good scenario for an RPG, this could potentially be something special. So, Atlas or anyone else, hey, you want to get on to localizing this, go ahead.
Yeah, please do. I feel like Atlas is willing to take risks more than most companies,
Yeah.
especially with localizations. Even for the Vita, which you know not
Even
many
for the
people would buy for, which was like really the case for P2 when it was released for the PSP and it got localized and it sold like garbage. Even
yeah,
in Japan, the re-release of Eternal Punishment sold awful.
which is probably why we never got that version. But
Yeah, which is a shame. If we got that version, it would have been the best. But hey, fan
but
translation is finally back in work.
yeah, that's cool to hear actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this really seems interesting, and I hope it's not one of those cases because like I've seen it before with like another game called The Legend of the Legacy or something where they're like, oh, we got one of the people who worked on Chrono Trigger to work on this. Oh, cool, and then it turned out to be completely average.
It looks really average with the title of The Legend of
Legend
Legacy.
of the Legacy, yeah, that's like something you get in RPG name generator or something.
RPG Maker 25.
Yeah,
Check out my new game,
but
The Legend of Legacy, this summer.
exclusive this summer. But you know the fact that that the fucking tagline is "Could you kill an idol?" and you know just the overall fact that Tadashi Satomi himself is just working on this, it makes me think we could get something here. We could get something pretty special here.
I'd like that, honestly. I mean, I love his
Yeah,
work from P2 and P1 alone, so if he's willing to make a game that actually turns out quite well and in a style that appeals to me, then I will most certainly pick it up.
same. Especially considering I think I like P1 a lot more than most people, but
Well, for like everything that is in the gameplay, which is
yeah,
basically how P1 and P2 can both go. More so P1 because P2 like it's not the best battle system, but it works.
it's it's super vanilla, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's
It's a
very
good way to say it.
average. It's not the best. The battle system definitely didn't get good till like 3, and even 4 onward. Like that evolved the battle system at least.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those games RPG wise were either terrible or completely
Yeah,
average. But
but
it's just
everything else
writing,
around them was amazing.
yeah, the writing really saved both of those games.
PSP version of P1 in particular, because well, PS1 version
Don't,
is you want to talk about localization that is the king to this day.
yeah, don't think anything can ever top
As
that.
bad as things can get, nothing will reach that. Revelations,
But yeah,
everybody.
Revelations. Yeah, not much else to say on that. Looks cool. Hope it turns out great. That's all I can say.
That's all, folks. But we do have questions, correct?
Surprisingly, yes. Even though I begged for them like fucking last minute.
Maybe we should advertise this a bit better.
Maybe we should think about the podcast more than once every 3 weeks.
Yeah, like,
Who
oh
knows?
yeah, shouldn't we like record? Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Literally also like Friday.
Yeah.
Uh
Even then we can't do Friday.
yeah, no. Thanks, little brother for having those drunk friends over. Anyway, first
Shout
question.
out to drunk friends.
First question. With the announcement of Pokemon Sun and Moon and the recent release of Digimon Cyber Sleuth, what would you say is the biggest appeal to you when it comes to these types of monster collecting RPGs?
Hmm. That's actually a lot more interesting than I thought. You can go first with that if you want.
Well, especially with Cyber Sleuth, it's just raising, like, finding like the creatures that really appeal to you and like making your like team around that. Like obviously with stuff like Pokemon, there's also like competitive stuff to that like plays into that. But for me personally, all I want is like, oh, these look cool. I want these, and then I have my party, and it's like, oh, this is the greatest. I can just roam around with these things and kick
So the
ass.
grinding was completely worth it in the end for you.
Yeah, because it's that payoff, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
Like you build up this team in your head because these things look like really, either just they just look cool to you essentially, and you're like, fuck, I can't wait to get these things. And then that moment when you finally complete that team is just that almost justifies the experience as a whole to me anyway.
Well, you finally got like a good Digimon game to do that with.
Yeah, thankfully.
Because while Digimon has had a better track of like anime media as opposed to game media like Pokemon has, Digimon's games.
Can range before Cyber Sleuth ranged from alright to uh,
Oh.
oh. Shout out to Digimon World 1 for
Oh.
not making any sense
Oh.
ever.
You like slow? I like slow.
I like really slow.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no, not a fan of that one at all, even if it's kind of a fan favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's really boring.
Well, I think a lot more people would appreciate Cyber Sleuth because it's basically just SMT.
Yeah, yeah. I thought people were kind of just joking because it sort of looks like well, not sort of, it'll look like fucking Devil Survivor.
It's
But
the same
no,
artist.
there's yeah, but no, you can kind of clearly tell there's been some S&T inspiration in Cyber Sleuth, which honestly just kind of makes it better. So,
Well, yeah, SMT just makes everything better, if I had to be honest.
not biased.
Cause yeah, because I will say this, in terms of the Pokemon Digimons and stuff, I feel the same way with teams where I like to pick out the coolest looking ones, unless their stats like I just simply can't use.
Yeah,
And I think it works for Pokemon because in that one you really don't need to change your team too much if you get a Pokemon that you really like, and you can just stick with that for the majority of the game. But if we range to something like Cyber Sleuth or SMT or Persona, which I also count in there because those are also kind of collecting sort of RPGs,
sorta. Yeah.
more story focused, of course, but
You're, yeah, like they're not like the main drive like they are in something like Pokemon or well even Cyber Sleuth has a story, but like it's mainly you're mainly there for the monsters.
yeah. But I think in those games though, they really do help a sense of like growth and progression that you usually don't get within something like a monster collecting game. Which, if I had
Yeah,
to be honest, I prefer the kind of progression sense. Because I think if,
I th
especially if a story is really, really good in some of the games, then it can really lead to some powerful moments within fights.
I think you might actually enjoy Cyber Sleuth then, because basically what happens because you've got like multiple levels of Digimon, right? You've got like baby, in training, rookie, champion,
Yeah, they're the different ranks and
ultimate,
the
and
tiers
mega.
and such.
But the thing is, you really don't get mega until the very end of the game.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of
Like an
like
evolved
when every
Persona?
yeah, when everything starts coming together, that's basically when you get the ability to go to Mega, and when you finally do, it feels like you've really taken a step forward from where you were at the beginning of the game.
That's pretty nice. And you said the story was really good too, right?
Yeah, it pulls in a lot of shit from like other Digimon stuff, but it manages to do that while still having its own sort of story, and the characters are very enjoyable. So
Okay. Well, that's great then. Because, yeah, like, I can easily say that for a majority of the S&T games I've played, or all of them, I've enjoyed just the general journey itself.
I think that's another point in like those kinds of RPGs, just the journey where you start off with like some weak little
You start
shit,
with, like, a Caterpie, a Pixie.
and then when you get to the end of the game, you've got this full team, and you feel like
You have a
you really
Hydreigon. You have Lucifer.
exactly that's the kind of shit like you sort of get in other RPGs, but it's a lot more
A lot
obvious
more
in something
apparent in
like
these kind of games.
yeah.
Because these guys that you've collected are your weapons, and it really shows. Especially with some of the crazy attacks they can do.
Oh man, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I think we got a good talk out of that. Who was it from? Anonymous, you said?
Yeah, both questions are anonymous.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Anonymous and Anonymous. And what's the next question?
Fucking someone's going crazy on Twitter right now. Anyway, so KM and Ian, should it apply? Thoughts on Common Rider? Well, it definitely doesn't apply to you. And if I can chain it into another question, any other things very clearly intended for kids that y'all are into?
Hmm.
Thoughts on Common Rider? It's fun as shit.
I know Common Rider from Wooly and Two Best Friends. That's about it. That's all I
Uh,
really know.
Granted, I've seen one show and I've caught up on the latest one. Uh, a lot of the appeal of it is just it's cheesy as fuck, and the characters are always like really like over the top and enjoyable. And sometimes despite that, you actually end up getting attached to these little fucks. It's um yeah, it's always just a fun ride. It's consistently entertaining, and I think sometimes that's just what I want in a show. And Kamen Rider gives me that. Sometimes I don't want this fucking like a really like deep plot with all these like intricate characters and stuff. I mean, that stuff's
I
good.
want to die
Stuff's good.
now.
That stuff's good. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes you just need like a lighthearted thing to take a break from the kind of thing. And yeah, Kamen Rider delivers on that in my
Well, I
eyes.
think also with that, with the deep, intricate stories that people like to babble on about, is that that's also something that can easily be fucked up, as opposed
Oh,
to like
definitely.
a lighthearted journey.
Yeah, definitely. Like what with those kinds of things. So even if so much of one element doesn't work, it can
It
collapse
can create a
immediately.
domino effect and completely ruin everything.
Yeah. And like with these kinds of shows, sure, some elements might not be like 100%, but even despite that, they're not as impactful on the other elements, so you can still have an enjoyable experience despite that.
Yeah,
But other things very clearly intended for kids, draw into, well, we just mentioned them.
yeah, we
Monster
basically had
Collection.
an entire podcast for those. In the end, we're
Yeah,
still children.
basically.
We're little
But
babbies.
little
Little
babies.
babbies that people gave microphones to. That's not a good idea, Mommy. Why'd you do this? Do you understand the power you have given me, Mother?
Mother, mother.
Oh, my face just gets progressively worse and worse. But yeah, no, like, for kids stuff, I still play Pokemon.
Yeah, same.
And people mention, like, from time to time, the periods where it's like, I'm too cool for Pokemon. I don't need Pokemon in my life. But honestly, that's a period that I honestly just never had, shockingly. I was always just the babby who's like, I like Pokemon.
I think I had sort of a period around that, although that was Gen 4, so it's probably just because I didn't like it very much.
Fair enough. That could completely, like, explain that.
But, like, even that, as soon as, like, Hard Gold and Soul Silver, like, remakes of, like, complete childhood games came out, I was like, okay, I'll try these out, and then I just, like, completely reverted back. I'm a little babby again. Yeah.
And sometimes, like, not all the times, of course, there are cases where, like, kids-oriented games will turn out like complete garbage, which should not happen. But those kind of kids games that you end up growing up with, they end up leading to some form of a developed taste that makes you look out for other stuff. That's just kind of an evolved version of said kids games.
Yeah.
Like, if I can honestly compare it to something, I think stuff like the monster catching stuff like from SMT and Pokemon is a good comparison.
Yeah, Pokemon, like, Pokemon made me realize, hey, I like these RPG things, and then I got introduced to stuff, then, like through the internet, I got introduced to stuff like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, and I was like, okay, I like
This
Pokemon,
kind of
maybe I should
genre
give
shit
these a
I like.
shot.
I like this kind of gameplay style.
Yeah, and then JRPGs became, like, my favorite genre ever.
And here we are.
Here we are. In a similar vein, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. Even though I, even though I disagree with some people on the internet that somehow think
The
it's the
greatest
greatest
3D
platform,
platformer of all time.
I do disagree with that. I think it's a decent, fun game, but it didn't kind of make me go out and like try out other 3D and after that 2D platformers.
And that's the thing also is that like there's the general 3D platform and the 2D platform, which is more oriented for kids, which I can say I greatly appreciate. Like if you look at something like Crash or Spyro, for example, that's obviously like a lot more kid friendly, and those games still hold up extremely well. At least the first three.
Yeah, Mario as well is basically a kids
Yeah,
franchise, but
Mario. And then there's Son. No, no, not Sonic.
no, Sonic. Sonic has Sonic's that weird guy who can
Sonic
like
tried to
sometimes.
age up with the kids at one point. That didn't go so well.
Sonic's that weird guy who sometimes like really fucking hits it out of the park. And you're like, oh, hey, maybe this guy's got potential. And then he has like 5 misses, and you're
He's
just
gonna
like,
go to
oh.
college.
And then he fails in the first week, and you're like, oh, never
The
mind.
first
It's still
week.
Sonic. It's still Sonic. Never
And he
mind.
keeps coming back to try and retake the test, but he's on like attempt number 9 and he's given up hope. I think he's contemplating suicide.
And everyone just kind of wants him to stop.
it's not. You don't need to kill yourself, man. But you gotta stop.
You just stop it. But yeah, speaking of platformers oriented towards kids, one of my favorite platformer franchises is, well, the most kid-oriented out there, Kirby.
Yeah, and those games still hold up extremely well.
Yeah.
Those are something that everyone can easily play and enjoy because it's simple, good stuff.
Yeah, it's very simple, but it's just fun.
Yeah, it's a very
How
consistent franchise because of that.
how I how I fought it up as I looked on my shelf and saw the Kirby amiibo, so,
Considering the location I'm in, I have next to me a giant spider, Santa Claus, and those I don't think can really compare to a video game. Not
No,
a
no,
kid-friendly one, anyways.
no.
Oh, then maybe like Santa Claus Saves the Earth, but I don't think kids should really play that.
I don't think anyone should play that, but yeah, I don't think I have much else, like, really kid-oriented that I really like.
Not in particular. Those are like the
No.
general kind of things. And I think you could go off from there and understand our taste,
Yeah.
unless you don't understand it at this point. And if that's the case, what the fuck are you watching this podcast for? Click off. God. But yeah, that was episode 3. Because I don't have anything else to say.
Neither do I.
Oh, I was hoping you would stop like, not so fast, but no, that's it. We're all done here. Pack your bags. We're going home.
Like,
Hopefully we'll do another episode 4. Maybe. Not sure. We'll get better. I swear.
please don't leave us.
Don't leave me.
I love you. Anyway,
I love you too. Goodbye.
bye.